Hello, monsters, and welcome to the Horror Files. I am your host, Dead Live Dana, and on this podcast, I dive into a particular horror movie each episode, providing insights and reviews as well as the latest in horror movie news. And for this episode, we head to Stephen King's Maine, where an elderly socialite's death leads to a tangled web of murder and abuse surrounding a mother and her estranged daughter. That's right, monsters. I will be talking about the Taylor Hackford thriller mystery, Dolores Claiborne, from 1995.
Dolores Claiborne, what the hell?
Oh my God.
You killed her.
This is not a trial. This is a preliminary inquest in all cases of death as suspicious in nature.
Someone to see you here.
I told you I don't want no lawyer.
Dolores, it's your daughter.
When was your last visit?
15 years ago. I didn't kill her.
Not murder that witch any more than I'm wearing a diamond tiara.
We need a piece of your hair, Miss Claiborne.
Take what you want. I ain't doing any beauty pageants this week.
That is the last guy in the world you want to make an enemy out of.
Motive, money.
I ain't making one. I'm keeping one.
Eyewitness testimony.
What is that supposed to mean?
A documented history of threats.
You gonna tell me you don't remember him?
Selena. We met before, Miss St. George.
Leave me alone!
I was the investigator when your father died.
No!
Maybe we should finish what was started 20 years ago.
You honest to God don't remember, do you?
I remember you hitting him!
You're an old hand at this, aren't you, Miss Claiborne? People do have a tendency to take some bad falls when you're around.
What did you do to him, Mommy? Why can't you believe my mother?
Because she's done it before.
You don't believe me, do you?
Selena, get in the house right now.
I am in the house.
Academy Award winner Kathy Bates, Jennifer Jason Leigh.
An accident, Dolores, can be an unhappy woman's best friend.
IMDb describes the plot for Dolores Claiborne as follows. A big city reporter travels to a small town where her mother has been arrested for the murder of an elderly woman for whom she worked as a housekeeper. The film is directed by Taylor Hackford, written by Stephen King and Tony Gilroy, and stars Kathy Bates, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Christopher Plummer, and David Strathairn. Now, before we get into things, just a couple little things. This is Kathy Bates' favorite movie role of her career. She said she loves it so much because she got to play the same character at different kind of iterations in her life. Obviously we go into the past when she was younger, and then now into present time where she's an elderly woman. So, she said that's her favorite movie role. And actually, a 2-act opera adaptation of this film premiered in San Francisco in 2013, followed by a new version of the same opera in 2017. And Judy Parfitt was recommended for the role of Vera by director Taylor Hackford's wife, Helen Mirren. And Parfitt, who had largely confined her career to the stage, was pretty much virtually unknown to film audiences at the time. And after she auditioned with Kathy Bates, Bates reportedly turned to Hackford and gasped, "Who was that?" And they agreed to cast her on the spot. So if you watch this movie, you will understand why. So let's get into things. Of course, please be advised there will be spoilers. So in 1995, Dolores Claiborne works as a domestic servant for her elderly, partially paralyzed employer, Vera Donovan, in her mansion on Little Tall Island in Maine. And one afternoon, the pair have a struggle and Vera falls down the stairs. We know that she's actually trying to kill herself. After ransacking the kitchen, she's unsuccessful. And after ransacking the kitchen, Dolores is caught by the mailman, who sees her standing over Vera with a rolling pin, because Vera had asked her, basically to put her out of her misery. And that's what Dolores was going to do. But Vera dies, and the local police begin a murder investigation. Before I go any further, actually, I just want to let people know there is going to be talk of domestic violence and also sexual assault of a minor. So if those are triggering for anybody listening, then, go ahead and stop now. But just a warning, we're going to be talking about those things because this movie deals with those. So anyway, Dolores' estranged daughter, Selena, she, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, she is a successful New York City journalist. She has a lot of depression, substance abuse issues, and self-harm issues. And she reluctantly arrives in town to support her mother, despite her own doubts about Dolores' innocence.
What are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
Selena, you've been drinking.
No shit.
I wish you wouldn't.
Look at me. Look at me. You see how I am right now?
Honey, what good is that gonna do?
Because in 10 minutes, I'm gonna be fine. Just give me 10 minutes.
It was a bad patch. You had a bad patch, and now you're feeling it all over again.
Bad patch? I had a fucking nervous breakdown, Mother.
Don't say words like that. It was a hard time. You got through it.
What am I doing?
You just needed a rest, that's all.
Right.
You snapped out of it just fine. Or you can't have one of those things and get a full scholarship to Vassar College. It was just a bad patch.
Must have been out of my mind to come back here.
So Dolores insists that she did not kill Vera, but the entire town have little trust, as they still believe she killed her husband, Joe St. George, 18 years earlier. And Detective John Mackney, who was played by Christopher Plummer, he was the chief detective in his murder case. And he's basically gung-ho on putting Dolores away for life. Now, we learn, we kind of go back and forth through time in this film, and we learn in 1975, Joe was an abusive alcoholic who, unbeknownst to Dolores, was also sexually abusing 14-year-old Selena. Now, Dolores accepted a job cleaning for Vera to save money to pay for Selena's education.
Next.
I've been working since I was 13 years old. Started out at the Devereaux Hotel housekeeping. By the time I left there in high school, I was cleaning 3 floors all by myself. I took care of my father's house after my mother passed on. I'm married and I have a daughter. This is a big house, but I'm a big woman and I think I can do a good job.
I do not pretend to be an easy woman to work for. Dolores. This house has a number of rules. I'm sure you've heard them secondhand, but I'll tell you in person, so we can avoid a teary scene later on. I like all the windows open every day for at least 2 hours.
And she did have her ways, did she ever? I don't know where she got her ideas, but I do know she was a prisoner of them.
The silver has to be checked and, of course, cleaned every week. It may look clean to you, but I like to see my face in it.
The tubs had to be scrubbed out every day with vinegar and baking soda. Tablecloths, napkins, handkerchiefs. Everything hand-washed, ironed, and starched. Mildew was grounds for firing. The sheets now. That was one thing you didn't ever want to get wrong. You could have cut off a high-flown, snobbish nose, and she still would have been able to smell a sheet that had hung outside from one baked in the dryer.
Mr. Donovan.
You have to do that now?
Talk to the missus.
Her husband, Jack. He only came up once all summer, most of which he spent ignoring her anyway. She could have just as easy had the clothesline beside the house, but not Vera Donovan. No, ma'am. She had to have the south wind blowing through her linens, and that meant tramping up and down that hill twice a day when it was fair.
So when Dolores finally discovers Selena was being molested, she went to the bank to withdraw the money so that they could flee Joe's abuse, but they found that Joe had stolen it. And Dolores is so distraught, and she confides in Vera about the situation, and Vera implies that she killed her own husband, and who had supposedly died in a car wreck, which Vera engineered to look like an accident. And Vera's confession forms this bond between the two women, and she convinces Dolores to take control of her own situation.
It's a depressingly masculine world we live in, Dolores.
Maybe I'm wrong.
What if you're right? Husbands die every day, Dolores. Why? One is probably dying right now while you're sitting here, weeping. They die and leave their wives their money. I should know, shouldn't I? Sometimes they're driving home from their mistress's apartment, and their brakes suddenly fail. An accident, Dolores, can be an unhappy woman's best friend. Sometimes, Dolores, sometimes you have to be a high-riding bitch to survive. Sometimes being a bitch is all a woman has to hang on to.
So Dolores says to the police that Vera threw herself down the stairs in an attempt to commit suicide, and then begged Dolores to put her out of her misery. Mackie refuses to believe her, as Vera has left Dolores her entire fortune in a will that is 8 years old, which Dolores knew nothing about. And Dolores and Selena argue about Joe's abuse, which Selena has always strongly denied. And Selena storms out, leaving Dolores to fend for herself.
Give it to me! It's mine! Oh my God. It's your father, ain't it? He's been at you, hasn't he? What are you talking about? What's he done to you? Nothing! He's been touching you, hasn't he? No! What's he done to you, Selena? Nothing. You gotta tell me the truth now. It's important, baby. No! Selena, leave me alone! What's happening? Oh! You bitch! You crazy old lying bitch!
Selena!
You're a fucking psychotic. Do you know how insane that is?
You think I'd make up something like this?
This should actually come to you, or do you work on it?
How can you not remember? How is that possible?
I remember you hitting him! That I remember! I remember the blood coming down his face. I remember the drinking. I remember the
you're
fighting,
not
but this...
responsible!
Maggie's right. You are
Selena.
dangerous. Fuck you!
Please! You gotta believe me!
No, I don't.
Selena!
So a flashback reveals one day when Dolores returned home from work, she told a drunken Joe that she knows he stole the money, and also that he molests Selena.
I got another surprise for you, Joe.
Yeah? What, somebody invent a pill cure ugly?
You know the money in Selena's bank account?
Yeah, well, what about it?
You took it?
Well, don't you look sour.
Yeah, I guess it is pretty funny, ain't it?
Oh, yeah. I fooled you right in profit, didn't I?
Yeah, you fooled me about a lot of things, Joe. But I guess I finally caught up with you. You already spent 500 of it. What'd it go for, Joe? Poker? Beer?
There you go. Selling me shot.
Set aside for school. And maybe you figure you blown all our money, you might as well run through hers while you're at it.
Ah, school shit.
So she then provokes him into a rage and leads him to fall down a well in their front yard, leaving him to die as he plunges to the bottom. Selena hears this story on a tape that was left to her by Dolores, who had foreseen her departure. And while on the ferry, Selena suddenly uncovers a repressed memory of her father forcing her to touch him sexually, and realizing everything and realizing that all this stuff that she has suppressed for so long, Selena rushes back to Dolores as she is attending the coroner's inquest. And as Mackie makes a case to be sent to the grand jury in an attempt to indict Dolores for murder, Selena arrives and tells him he has no admissible evidence. He is only doing this because of his personal vendetta against Dolores, and that despite an often stormy relationship, Vera and Dolores did love each other.
Forgot. This case is about Vera Donovan, not my father.
And what if it wasn't an accident?
Look. It's been 18 years. I don't know what this has done to you. But let me tell you, it's consumed me. I have lived with this every day of my life. Every day. I was wrong, and I won't do it anymore. And if I can say that, my God, can't you? She didn't kill Vera Donovan. You've been out here all weekend looking for a smoking gun. There isn't one. All you've got is a 30-page description of a suicide. I'm asking you, as an honorable man, with all your experience, all that you've seen, would we be here right now if this was anyone other than Dolores Claiborne?
This report's the truth.
So realizing that the case would likely end with either a dismissal or an acquittal, Mackie reluctantly drops the charges, and Dolores and Selena reconcile on the ferry wharf before Selena returns home to New York. And that is Dolores Claiborne. So let's get into this film a little bit. So Castle Rock entertainment exec William Goldman approached screenwriter Tony Gilroy with the offer to adapt Stephen King's novel Dolores Claiborne, which had been the best-selling work of fiction of 1992. Initially, Gilroy was turned off by certain scenes, including when Vera hurls and smears excrement around her room, as well as by how the story was told. He said it had some really fascinating angles, but the whole narrative was one long slog of a monologue from Dolores, which made it feel one-dimensional and, to be honest, raw and unrevised. But nevertheless, he took on the project. And Hackford encountered several obstacles in pre-production, including neglecting to get Stephen King's approval for Gilroy's revised storyline, and a fruitless search for Little Tall Island until a phone call with King clarified that it was a fictional location. So later, when Christopher Plummer was cast as Detective Mackie, Hackford became frustrated with his costume designer because Plummer was meant to look like a disheveled cop. And he kept appearing, quote, like he had just stepped out of the page of GQ magazine. So Plummer resolved the dilemma by using an eyebrow pencil to draw a large scar across his nose, which gave him more of a scraggy appearance. Hackford, about whether, Kathy Bates and Jennifer Jason Leigh were in sync. He said, not at the beginning. Both are really experienced, and Kathy is one generation away from Jennifer and therefore had a lot of stage experience before. But remember, though, Jennifer started working as a young girl. She comes from a movie family, and I think her first film was she was 15. So she's had a lot of experience also. So they did have different styles, but they both understood, like any good actor, that you don't do a scene alone. We did rehearse a bit. It took a little time for them to find the dance step and get their rhythm right. They do have different styles, but it wasn't at all unusual for me to see Kathy standing behind the camera, giving Jennifer off-camera lines and crying. Each of them was so touched by the other. They don't have to do this, but they were totally committed to each other. And so I think it's that kind of connection that they had, which really makes the relationship between them in the film just so much more impactful, at least personally. Exterior shots of the St. George house were actually done in Blue Rocks, Nova Scotia. And to achieve the special effects of the solar eclipse without CGI technology, the house was disassembled and rebuilt on what was then the largest blue screen soundstage in existence at a hockey arena. Because the inexperienced effects company misunderstood the pricing from the storyboards, that sequence went 500% over budget. I mean, incredible shot, but the film's flashbacks were captured with Fujifilm stock, which created these bright, vivid pastels, and the present was filmed using cold blue Kodak film, made harsher by desaturating the Kodak. And in order to give tonal indications of erupting memories, of buried trauma, Hackford created these kinds of visual echoes of paintings by surrealist Belgian painter René Magritte, which appear in the scenes when Dolores breaks her window with an axe, and also when Selena gazes into the mirror on the ferry boat. So the film was filmed in Lunenburg, Mahone Bay, Chester, Stonehurst, and Digby, all in Nova Scotia, Canada. Though it's typically classified as a drama and psychological thriller, some critics, including Roger Ebert, have classified Dolores Claiborne as a horror film. Film theorist Kristen Thompson identifies the film as a melodrama, quote, produced by the repression of specific traumas, in this case, domestic violence and incest. According to Martha McCaughey and Neil King, the film's use of flashbacks suggests a specific narrative point of view when considering the film's themes of abuse and incest between Dolores as well as Selena and Joe. Quote, that all the flashbacks save one belong to Dolores tells us that not only are we watching her story, it also tells us of the unavailability of the past to Selena and of the displacement and the repression forced into play by the girl's experience of incest. The flashback scene in which Selena recalls her father's forcing her to touch him on the ferry has been particularly noted by critics. Here Selena and the viewer alike come to finally see Joe's transgressions and by implication to understand the truth of Dolores's tale. Throughout this scene, the perspective offered by the camera remains firmly focused on the reactions of the victim of the sexual crime. We see, because we are seeing it through Selena. Selena is watching it unfold and also watching herself experiencing this trauma. Dolores Claiborne has been cited as a, quote, self-consciously feminist film that, quote, combines the melodramatic impulse with the investigative structure of a noir crime thriller and a contemporary feminist consciousness. The film has also been read as an example of a maternal melodrama that features an, quote, idealized mother figure who sacrifices the needs of her own for others. In the book Screening Genders, one scholar considered Dolores Claiborne and Stage Door from 1937 to be the only truly feminist films made in Hollywood, in that they, quote, don't cop out at the end. Britt Hayes writes of the main character, quote, though through Dolores, King poignantly explores the way the world often forces women into a series of compromises, and the way those small compromises have a way of stacking up to an imposing height, backing us into a corner until we have no choice but to become bitches. A woman, a wife, a mother is emotionally and physically abused to the point where she breaks and feels she has no other option than to become a bitch. The three main women in the story, Dolores, Selena, and Vera, each repeat sometimes being a bitch is the only thing a woman has left to hold on to. They all say that. And and are all kind of pushed to those points. Janet Maslin of the New York Times called it a, quote, a vivid film that revolves around Miss Bates' powerhouse of a performance. Only after the film has carefully laid the groundwork for a story of old wounds and violent mishaps does the anticlimactic truth become apparent. Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars and praised the performances of Bates and Lee, saying, this is a horror story, all right, but not a supernatural one. All of the elements come out of such everyday horrors as alcoholism, wife-beating, child abuse, and the sin of pride. Entertainment Weekly, however, gave the film a negative review, awarding it a D+ rating and saying, quote, this solemnly ludicrous psychological thriller is like one of Hollywood's old hag gothics turned into a therapeutic grouseathon. It's Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte for the age of Oprah. Wow. That's a little harsh. I wonder if a man wrote that. Excuse me. The movie debuted at number 3 for the week of March 26, 1995 with $5,721,920. It went on to make $24,361 domestically. $24 million domestically. That ranks it as the 15th highest grossing film based on a Stephen King novel, unadjusted for inflation. Adjusting for inflation, it ranks, I believe, as the 17th highest. Kathy Bates and Jennifer Jason Leigh were nominated for the Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress awards at the 22nd Saturn Awards. Ellen Muth also won, who played young Selena, also won the Tokyo International Film Festival Award for Best Supporting Actress. And Warner Brothers released the film on Blu-ray on November 21st, 2017, under the label Warner Archive Collection. This film has a Metacritic score of 62, a Rotten Tomatoes score of 86%, and a Letterboxd rating of 3.7 out of 5. I really love this film. I probably would give it an 8.5 out of 10. And there's a couple reasons why. For the women in this film, these are women who exist in a world of men. In a world of men who seek to divide them and to keep them quiet. whether it's Selena and the editor she recently broke up with, giving a story meant for her to another female writer, or Mackie's determination to see Dolores sent to prison for a crime she didn't commit. The men of the story are almost universally terrible. I think the only exception really is John C. Reilly's police officer character, who generally like tries to like help and be diplomatic, and is a good guy. And Vera and Dolores' relationship and the ease with which everyone believes Dolores murdered the woman she cared for is really, I feel, emblematic of the way that a patriarchal society ignores older women until they do something seemingly heinous. And we can also see this in horror films as well. If you look at something like X, if you look at something like The Visit, if you look at something like A Taking of Deborah Logan, and also in a way, these are kind of women who are pretty much just kind of, they're only there to be scary, basically. But these women are underestimated at every step. And the strength that they find is often born of their relationships with the other women around them. And Vera even says it herself in that monologue. She says, "It's a terribly masculine world we live in, Dolores." And they know that because of that, the odds are against them being able to succeed and to get to place and to get the things that they, deserve or want. And so then it's taking things into their own hands. They get pushed to this point. And the film teases out these female relationships and brings them really to the forefront. Dolores finally gets a chance to tell her daughter the truth. And because that's been a burden she's held on to for so many years, and really leaves it up to Selena as to how she reacts. She doesn't force it upon her, because I think she's like, I don't know how Selena is going to react, because she knows Selena doesn't remember this, like legitimately doesn't remember what happened to her. And so she leaves that tape for her to listen to as she's like driving back to New York, and just kind of is like, here's what happened. I'm just going to tell you this, and leaves it for Selena to decide what she wants to do. And Selena realizes her mother's strength in that as she listens to her confession, and that Dolores nearly lost everything in order to keep her daughter safe from the man who was harming her. And I think that's one thing about what I love about this film, or one of the things I love about this film, is that it really examines the mother-daughter dichotomy, because we see where there was love and care between mother and daughter when she was younger. And, they didn't have an easy life. Selena had to start working at a young age in order to basically help her parents financially. And Dolores was also kind of hiding Joe's abuse of Dolores, because, he hits her until basically she's like, that's the last time. It's once and then done, because she's like, that's the last time you're ever going to hit me. And she makes it known that will not be tolerated. And so it's interesting to see how the mother-daughter aspect plays in, where it's like, when when there are secrets, when there are things that we don't know, it can really cause divide between, parent and child. And it's also interesting because we see the progress of Selena, and it's heartbreaking when Joe is abusing her and how much it changes her. She was she was a bright, cheery, academically really solid, girl, and very sweet. And then she just starts changing into this sullen, she wears, I even love the choice of what she wears when the abuse starts, happening. And it's a lot of baggy things. It's a lot of things that cover her, sweatshirts that cover her, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's literally telling you kind of what's going on visually. And the young Selena is just so brilliant at doing at that performance. And also they shows the aftermath of when Joe died and how the town sort of starts going after her, Dolores and Selena. And that's traumatic as well. So it's this mother and daughter who have endured so much trauma and hurt. And it's really just kind of soured the relationship. But it's also because Selena did not understand what her mom was also doing for her and what was actually going on. And so, and Dolores and Vera also cling to each other in this kind of mutual acknowledgement of the harm done to them by their husbands and their acquired liberty from them. And when Selena at the end finally stands up to Mackie, who is so rigid in his attitude and too proud to see the bigger picture, it is a victory for the strength of these female relationships. And what also really works to kind of hit this movie home is Taylor Hackford's direction. It's very measured. It's intimate. It uses the Nova Scotian landscape, which is a good double for Maine, to great effect as the kind of dramatic backdrop to the story. These drab blues and grays that occupy the color palette for the present day scenes really give the impression that life has drained out of Dolores and Selena, that they have been beaten back by their tragedy. And then you have those flashback scenes that are full of reds and golds, which manages to be at once both violent and nostalgic. It was, after all, the last time Dolores' family were all together, despite Joe's vile behavior. And occasionally, Hackford also allows the red of the past to quite literally bleed into the present, such as that amazing sky that looks over Selena's when she's attempts to storm away from her mother. And it isn't used often, but contributes beautifully to this ongoing theme of consequence and memory. And, given her brilliant performance as another King character with a very singular tone and personality, I feel like Kathy Bates was absolutely the perfect actor to take on a woman like Dolores. She turns in a performance that is as steely as it is tragic, but there is so much emotion and depth there. And Jennifer Jason Leigh, she manages Selena's slow decay very delicately, and in a role that very could have easily slid into bratty and unsympathetic. The Leigh and Bates fractious relationship drives the film. with its reflection in the sort of tempestuous relationship between Vera and Dolores. And Parfit's Vera is also it's excellent. It's a reminder that women find themselves trapped in all kinds of situations, and all three women present an aggressive front to the world. It leaves them ostracized, but of course, once again, as Vera observes, sometimes being a bitch is all a woman has to hold on to. And especially when they have to face up to men like Mackie and Joe. And Christopher Plummer plays Mackie as a man who has rarely found himself questioned in the way that both Dolores and Selena manage. And Mackie has a very fixed attitude that excludes emotion to his detriment. And as Joe Strathairn is utterly unlikable, even in his lighter moments joking with Selena, there's a disquieting air about him as if he could snap at any moment. And so all of these are just incredible performances. And I think what makes this film for me is this is a character-driven story. And I feel like it's something that I am missing so much in today's films, because the characters and their the events that happen to them completely drive this story and this film. And so it's the weight of all of that is put on the actors' shoulders. And thank goodness that the actors that we have in it are so fantastic, because if they didn't pull this off, this movie would just be absolutely terrible. But it's everybody brings their A game to this, and it's a film that is driven by the characters. And I think that's why I respond to it so much. And I respond to these women who are in it because they are all, like I said, they're very, they present an aggressive front to the world. But that is because that's what they've had to do to survive this life. And I think it's just, there's one scene near the end where Selena tells her mom that she knows, she's like, I may not be able to forgive what you've done and what you did. She's like, but I know that you did it for me. And there's this beautiful moment when she says that, where Kathy Bates lets out this relieved little sigh. And it's just like, you feel sort of the weight of all of those years sort of lifting off of her shoulders, because that's all she wanted Selena to know, was that anything that she did in her life, what she did to Joe, any of that stuff, it all staying with Vera, even though Vera was such a hard ass bitch to work for and a hard ass woman. She did it for Selena, for her daughter. And I think it's just, it's weird to say that it's a beautiful film about mothers and daughters, because for a lot of it, it's not. But when you get to the end of it and they have that understanding, it really is beautiful, because it's just finally these women can kind of let that go off of their shoulders. And it's a beautiful thing to witness. So I love this movie. I highly recommend it. The movie is available to watch on YouTube, Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango at Home, and Amazon Prime. And that was Dolores Claiborne. And now let's head over to the Horror Files News Corner. With October right around the corner, AMC has announced the full schedule for this year's AMC FearFest celebration, a month-long horror marathon that kicks off on October 1st. The long-running annual horror and genre programming event features over 650 hours of iconic horror film franchises, new series, specials, and more across linear and streaming. AMC has also announced that Janelle Monáe will return as the official host and Halloween for the month-long Carnival of Frights, where she will be featured in the social media campaign, sharing her love of horror, favorite thrillers, and showcasing her knowledge of the genre. She has also curated a list of her favorite horror films for a special collection on AMC Plus, available to stream during the month of October. FearFest favorites by Janelle Monáe includes The Birds, Carrie, Child's Play, Halloween, Late Night with the Devil, Leprechaun, The Others, Psycho, Rear Window, The Rule of Jenny Penn, Speak No Evil, Vertigo, and many more. Halloween is a time to investigate fears, transform them, and to celebrate the unknown, Monáe said. Horror has always been a space to honor the horror classics, like the films that shaped me, while championing bold new voices and reinventing the way stories are told. I'm thrilled to return as the Hallow Queen with AMC Networks and FearFest to share my favorite films, spotlight iconic franchises, and share this Halloween season with all my fellow horror enthusiasts. FearFest 2025 programming highlights include franchises and collections such as A Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Final Destination, and the Stephen King Library, including It, the miniseries The Shining, and Misery, as well as new episodes of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, an all-new series in the Anne Rice universe, Talamasca, The Secret Order, and a ghoulish Halloween specials including The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, FearFest double feature screening of A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Freddy vs. Jason. The Goosebumps Gala will also feature themed marathons such as Fear the 80s with Silver Bullet, Christine, and Poltergeist, Creature Feature, Tremors, Lake Placid, Pet Sematary, and more. The found footage franchise Grave Encounters is getting a fresh new reboot, Variety has reported, with real-life couple Justin Long and Kate Bosworth on board. Justin Long will star in Grave Encounters as well as produce alongside Bosworth. The directors of the original Grave Encounters movie back in 2011, Colin Minihan and Stuart Ortiz, are also on board the project. According to Variety, they will, quote, develop the film. The untitled reboot will, quote, modernize the concept into a cinematic experience, highlighting the dread, claustrophobia, and psychological terror that made the original a fan favorite. Long and Bosworth both star in Colin Minihan's new movie Coyotes, which is releasing this Halloween season. So the upcoming Grave Encounters reboot will be a reunion for the trio. Long and Bosworth said, our creative connection with Colin was undeniable on Coyotes, and we wanted to continue that relationship as quickly as possible. He is a very rare combination of brilliant filmmaker and fun collaborator, and we are thrilled to help him resurrect a new imagining of one of his first horror gems, Grave Encounters. It has such a passionate fan base, and we include ourselves among them. We hope to honor the legacy of the original film while unleashing something even darker. We made Grave Encounters in our 20s on a self-financed shoestring budget, and it scared the hell out of people, Minahan and Ortiz said in a statement. Justin has defined genre cinema for over a decade and is the definitive Scream King. He is the perfect choice to reimagine Grave Encounters for a new generation. In the original movie, the crew of a ghost hunting reality show locks themselves inside an abandoned mental hospital that's supposedly haunted, and it might prove to be all too true. So, sounds interesting. So, that is it for this week, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. As always, you can find me on Letterboxd, Twitter, and Threads at Dead Alive Dana. And if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes or movies for me to talk about, you can email me at deadalivedana@gmail.com. And until next time, monsters, stay safe and most importantly, stay spooky.